He thought he was unbeatable, a billionaire sitting inside his marble casino mansion, a man so rich he believed money could bend people, and their dignity. So when his guests arrived, he didn't just welcome them. He mocked them. He saw a black maid standing quietly in the corner, and laughed, calling her son, a boy barely 12, to the poker table like some circus act. "Come on, kid, show us if poor people can count," the billionaire smirked, his friends laughing behind him. He thought it was harmless fun, just a joke. A rich man humiliating a child for entertainment. But what happened next left everyone at that table frozen, because this poor little boy was about to teach the billionaire the most expensive lesson of his life. And the price? His money, his reputation, and his pride. This is where the joke ends, and karma begins. The wealthy have their own universe. A universe built on gates, guards, and golden carpets, where a single dinner bill looks like someone else's yearly salary, and respect is measured by the size of your bank account. Inside this universe lived Alexander Crowe, a billionaire known not just for his fortune, but for something darker. He loved control, loved to watch people bend under his power. Crowe owned half the skyscrapers downtown, and every politician within arm's reach. He didn't ask for things, he expected them. That night he was preparing for one of his infamous poker parties, a gathering where money wasn't the real currency. Egos were. There'd be politicians, athletes, celebrities, and the occasional business rival who wanted to test his luck at Crowe's table. But there was someone else inside the mansion, someone who didn't belong, at least not according to the billionaire and his friends. Her name was Maria Lopez, a single mother. She cleaned Crowe's mansion twice a week to give her son a chance at a better life. She didn't complain, didn't speak much, kept her head down, worked hard, and prayed her son would rise far beyond her circumstances. Her son, Eli, was only 12, quiet, introverted, always carrying a worn notebook filled with numbers and equations. He didn't watch cartoons. He studied patterns. He didn't dream about toys. He dreamed about solving problems that adults couldn't. Tonight, she had no choice but to bring him along. Babysitter canceled, rent was due, and work couldn't be missed. Crowe didn't care. His mansion was a workplace, not a home. If the maid needed her son there, he'd tolerate it, as long as he stayed out of sight. As the poker guests arrived, Maria stayed in the background, polishing silver trays, refreshing wine glasses, staring at the floor to avoid eye contact. But Crowe saw the boy, and in a house where power was entertainment, he smelled an opportunity. He leaned back in his velvet chair, watching Eli analyze the cards on the table from across the room, like he could see patterns no one else noticed. The guests laughed, joked, and bragged about their latest deals. But Crowe wasn't paying attention to them anymore. He pointed directly at the child. "You," he said, interrupting the game. "You look like you're bored. Come here. You know how to play poker?" The room went silent. Maria froze, hands trembling around a crystal glass. "No, sir. He's just—" But Crowe raised his hand, cutting her off. "I wasn't talking to you." He smirked, eyes locked on the boy. "I'm talking to him." Eli stood still, not scared, just calculating. The players smiled, eager to see a billionaire toy with the maid's kid. Crowe waved again, voice dripping with superiority. "Come on, boy. Let's see if poor people know how to think." And with those words, the stage was set. Eli walked toward the table slowly, each step feeling heavier than the last. Maria tried to stop him, whispering desperately, "Stay behind me. I'll handle this." But Crowe's guests were already amused, smiling like this was the night's entertainment. Crowe tapped the empty chair beside him. "Sit," he ordered as if commanding a servant. Eli hesitated. He wasn't supposed to be here, not at a table where thousands of dollars casually lived and died with every turn of a card. But Maria, face pale, eyes pleading, gave him the smallest nod, not because she wanted this, but because she didn't want to risk her job or her son's safety. Eli sat. Immediately the men at the table burst into laughter. "Kid's shaking already," one chuckled. "Hope he doesn't spill his juice on the cards," another mocked. Crow grinned like a king watching a gladiator he'd doomed. He tossed the boy a stack of chips, far more money than Maria made in a month. "Let's make this fun," Crow said. "If you lose, your mother works double shifts this month. No complaints." The room erupted with cheers. This wasn't poker anymore. It was cruelty dressed as entertainment. Maria's breath caught in her chest. She tried to speak, but Crow raised a finger. "One noise from you, and you're fired." The other players leaned forward, seeing the billionaire's sadistic setup unfold. Eli stared at the chips. He didn't touch them, didn't react. He simply looked at the cards in his hand, then at the cards already played. Crow smirked. "What's wrong, kid? Never seen real money before?" Eli answered calmly. "No, sir, just thinking." That comment alone made the men laugh even harder. "Thinking?" Crow mocked. "Boy, this is poker, not homework." But something changed. A subtle shift. Eli wasn't scared. He was studying. The way Crow tapped his finger. The way the man on the left scratched his ear when he had a weak hand. The way another player leaned back only when he was confident. Eli was seeing patterns, like he always did. The dealer passed another round of cards. Crow tossed in a casual bet, eyes narrowed, waiting for the boy to fold. Instead, Eli raised. The table froze. Crow blinked. "You raisin' me." Eli nodded. "It's a smart play." The table burst into shock. "Is he serious?" Someone whispered. "He doesn't even know the rules." But Crow didn't laugh this time. His ego felt the sting. He raised the stakes, throwing in twice the amount. "Your move, genius." Without hesitation, Eli pushed all his chips forward. All in. The room erupted, half laughing, half stunned. One guest leaned toward Crow, whispering, "He's just copying you. Relax. Take his chips and let the maid clean the floor with what's left of him." Crow nodded slowly, eyes locked on the child's steady expression. The final card hit the table. Crow revealed his hand, a powerful play, almost unbeatable. He leaned back, triumphant. "This," he declared, "is why the rich lead and the poor follow." The room clapped. Then Eli turned his cards over. The table went silent. For the first time that night, Crow's smile faded. Eli had won, not by luck, but by logic. Crow slammed his fist on the table, chips rattling. "How did you do that?" Eli answered simply. "I pay attention." And suddenly, the laughter in the room died. This wasn't a humiliation anymore. It was a reversal. The boy they mocked had just beaten a billionaire in his own kingdom. For a moment, the room was silent. No laughter, no mockery, just disbelief. The boy they'd expected to collapse had just crushed the king of the table, with nothing but calm logic. Crow's jaw tightened. His pride, the very thing that fed his wealth, his power, his identity, had been publicly wounded. That alone was unacceptable. He forced a stiff smile, masking the rage boiling underneath. "Well, beginner's luck," he muttered. But everyone at the table knew. That wasn't luck. Crow grabbed another stack of chips, double the previous round, and tossed them toward Eli. Again. It wasn't a request, it was a command. Maria's heart dropped. This wasn't harmless anymore, and this was turning into a battle her son never asked for. "Sir, please," she whispered, voice shaking. "He's just a child," Crow snapped. "Quiet." The room stiffened. Nobody spoke against him. Nobody dared. Eli looked at his mother, then back at the table. "I'll play," he said softly. Not out of confidence, but because he saw her fear and wanted to protect her. The cards slid across the table. Crow leaned forward, eyes sharp. No more theatrics, no jokes. Now he was actually playing. The other men watched anxiously. This wasn't amusing anymore. This was obsession. Crow flicked a card and studied Eli's face, searching for a reaction. Eli stayed still, quiet, focused. Crow raised. Eli just called. The next card dropped. Crow raised again, harder this time, like he was trying to bury the boy under chips and pressure. Eli paused. Crow smirked. Oh, not so confident now? But Eli wasn't hesitating because he was scared. He was calculating. He raised. Crow's lips twitched. He matched the bet instantly. The room leaned in. Final card. Crow went all in. Maria covered her mouth, terrified. Eli, please. But the boy slowly pushed his chips forward. I'm all in. A chilling murmur swept the room. Crow slammed his cards down. A monster hand, almost unstoppable. He stood up, hands raised, waiting for applause. Then Eli revealed his cards. Gasps broke out. Someone nearly choked on their drink. He'd done it again. Second round, second victory. Crow's face drained of color. This wasn't just humiliation. This was collapse. One guest leaned over and whispered, Crow, he's reading you. The billionaire's eye twitched. Reading me, he repeated. He stared at Eli, really stared, as if seeing him for the first time. What are you? Crow asked, voice low and dangerous. Eli's answer was simple. I'm observant. Crow's fingers curled into fists. This child, this nobody, was outsmarting him in front of his own circle. Powerful men don't handle humiliation well, and Crow was one of the most powerful. He stepped away from the table, moving toward Maria. His voice turned icy. What else can your son do? Maria stepped protectively in front of Eli. Leave him alone. Crow chuckled, a slow, venomous chuckle. Oh, don't worry, I'm just curious. He turned back to the table, face blank, eyes dark. Let's raise the stakes. The room stiffened. He pulled out a black metal case and dropped it on the table with a heavy thud. Inside, rows of high-value chips and cash bricks. This round, he said, decides everything. Maria's voice cracked. Please, stop. Crow pointed at her. One more word, and you're out of this house forever. Eli swallowed hard. I'll play, he whispered. And just like that, the game transformed from entertainment to war. The table reset. But this time, no one was smiling. No one was relaxed. The air felt electric. Dangerous. Crow dealt the cards himself, hands stiff, jaw clenched. This wasn't a game anymore. This was dominance, reclamation, revenge. Eli sat quietly, barely moving, but his eyes, they were different now, like gears turning, fast, focused, precise. Maria stood behind him, fingers trembling, silently praying this nightmare would end. Crow opened aggressively. A massive raise. His voice was cold. You can fold now, and save what little pride you have. Eli didn't flinch. He matched the bet with calm, steady hands. Crow exhaled sharply, annoyed. The next card dropped. Crow raised again, bigger. Eli paused, not from fear, but from analysis. He lifted his eyes, looked directly into Crow's, and said quietly, You bluff too early when you feel threatened. A nervous whisper spread around the room. Crow froze, caught off guard. What did you say? Eli repeated, You bluff early when you're scared someone might beat you. Silence. Crow laughed, sharp, forced. You think you know how I play? Eli nodded. You tap your ring when you don't have a good hand. Every head in the room slowly turned toward Crow's hand. His ring was tapping. Tap, tap, tap. Crow's smile collapsed. For the first time in a very long time, he was exposed. Eli raised. Crow's face twitched, but he called. Next card. Crow checked. Eli checked. Final card. Crow shoved everything, all in, but there was no confidence in his voice now, just desperation. Eli didn't hesitate, didn't waver. He simply whispered, "I call." The room fell silent. Crow flipped his hand, a mediocre set. Gasps. Eli turned over his cards, a beautifully played winner. Not luck, not chance, strategy. Crow's world slowed. He had been dissected, piece by piece, by a child. The billionaire stumbled back, horrified. How did you know?" Eli answered softly. "You tell a story with your hands, your breathing, your eyes." One guest muttered, "He's not playing the cards, he's playing you." Crow stared at Eli, face pale, eyes wide. "Who taught you this?" Eli shrugged. "No one. I just see things." Crow swallowed, hard. This wasn't just a gifted boy. He was a prodigy, a threat. Crow's voice cracked. "You think this is funny? You come into my house and humiliate me?" Eli stayed silent. Crow turned to his guests, frantic. "He's cheating. He has to be. No one plays like this." One of the men replied quietly, "No, Crow. He just beat you." Crow's face twisted with rage. He grabbed Eli by the shoulder and yanked him from the chair. Maria lunged forward. "Don't touch my son," Crow screamed. "You think you can embarrass me and walk away?" A worker stepped forward. "Sir, he's just a kid." Crow snapped, "Shut up." He shoved the boy back into the chair, breathing hard, eyes wild. "You're not done," he hissed. "This time, you play for more than money." Maria went pale. "What does that mean?" Crow slowly leaned in, smiling like a villain in a nightmare. "You win. You leave." He paused. "You lose." He stays. "With me." Maria screamed, "No!" Crow raised a finger. "One more word and I'll call security to remove you." His guests sat frozen, horrified, but silent. Power does that to people. It turns courage into fear. Eli placed a hand over his mother's. "It's okay," he whispered. "I won't lose." Crow laughed sharply. "We'll see." He reshuffled the deck, hands shaking. "But this time, I'll be watching very closely." The room held its breath as the next hand began. The room felt like a prison. Guests sat stiff, too afraid to speak, too guilty to look away. Crow stared at Eli the way a predator studies prey. Shaking, furious, but unsure for the first time in his entire privileged life. He dealt the cards slowly, deliberately, eyes glued to the boy. No jokes, no arrogance, only fear. Eli studied his cards, expression calm. Maria whispered, "Mi hijo, you don't have to do this." But Eli shook his head. "I'm ending it." Crow smirked. "You think I'll let you win again?" One of the guests whispered, "He's not thinking about the game anymore. He's thinking about revenge." The first round began. Crow bet big. Too big. He was trying to scare the child. Eli matched it instantly. Crow flinched. Second card. Crow leaned forward, studying Eli's hands, his eyes, his breathing. But the boy was unreadable. A blank canvas. Crow shoved again, harder. The room shuddered. Eli tapped the table and called. Crow's composure shattered. "Stop that! Stop reading me!" Eli tilted his head. "I don't need to read you. You're loud." The guests hid nervous smiles. Crow's face burned. The third card dropped. Crow checked, trying a new strategy. Eli said nothing, just watched. Crow forced a laugh. "You're scared, huh? That's why you won't bet." Eli finally spoke. Scared people talk more than they should. It felt like a blade sliding under Crow's ribs. He shoved all in, again. Not confidence, just panic. Maria gasped, "Eli, don't—" Eli interrupted. "I call." The entire room froze. Crow flipped first, a great hand, a winning hand. His smile returned, cruel, victorious. He rose from his chair in slow motion. "It's over, boy." Eli didn't move. He lifted his cards, and his hand was better. Better than great. Perfect. Crow's smile died instantly. Eli murmured, "You told your story again." A guest asked, "How? How did he know?" Eli pointed at Crow's wrist. "Your pulse is strong when you have a good hand, but when it's great, it slows down." Crow froze. Eli wasn't lucky. He was calculating him like a machine, a genius in real time. Crow stumbled back, face drained of color. You little." Before he could finish, his wife suddenly stepped forward. "That's enough, Crow." He spun around. "What?" She looked at Eli, then Maria. "You won. Both of you. Leave." Crow snarled, "No! They belong." She cut him off. "If they stay, so do I, and so does every reporter in this city." Gasps. Crow froze. His empire was built on image, and she knew it. He swallowed hard, clenched fists, trembling rage. You think you can threaten me?" She stepped closer. "It's not a threat. It's a promise." Crow's men slowly backed away. No one would take his side now. The room had shifted. Power had moved. Not to the rich, not to the loud, but to the truth. Crow stared at the boy who shredded his ego, his reputation, his myth. "Get out." His voice was hollow. No confidence, just defeat. Maria grabbed her son, tears of relief streaking down her face. Eli took one last look at the silent billionaire. "You should pick better games." Crow's wife whispered to him, "He's 10 steps ahead of you." Maria and Eli walked toward the exit. Free. But just before they reached the door, Crow slammed his fist onto the table. "This isn't over." Eli turned back. "Yes," he said calmly, "it is." The next morning, the billionaire woke up to a reality he never imagined, because what happened in that quiet room didn't stay in that quiet room. Someone leaked the footage, and by noon, it was everywhere. Headlines exploded. Billionaire forces Maid's child into gambling game. Child prodigy outsmarts corrupt CEO. Powerful family exposed in disturbing poker incident. Crow's PR team tried. Oh, they tried. But you can't bury a story that big, that ugly, that true. Guesses who were silent last night suddenly found their voices. One by one they came forward, admitting everything they saw. Even worse, a few leaked more stories about how Crow treated staff, employees, women. His empire began to crack from every side. Crow ranted on social media. It was just a harmless game. No one was hurt. But the world wasn't buying it. Sponsors cut ties. Board members resigned. Stock prices fell like stones. Meanwhile, Maria and Eli were sitting quietly in a tiny lawyer's office. A woman in a navy suit leaned forward. "Eli, what you did took courage. We're going to make sure you're protected." Because now, the case went federal. Child endangerment, coercion, illegal gambling, abuse of power. Crow suddenly discovered that money can't buy everything, especially dignity. Reporters swarmed his mansion. "Is it true you threatened a child? Did you force the game? Are you stepping down?" He hid inside like a frightened animal. But the world didn't forget. Eli, on the other hand, became a quiet symbol of brilliance under pressure. A clip of him calmly saying, "You tell your story through your pulse," went wildly viral. Experts on TV praised him as a once-in-a-generation mind. One professor said, "Genius isn't about IQ tests. It's about seeing the invisible. That kid sees everything." Crow watched helplessly as the boy he mocked became a national sensation. And he became the villain in his own story. The lawsuits came next. Crow tried to settle privately, but Maria refused. "It's not about money," she said. "It's about making sure people like you never do this again." Her words shattered him more than losing. because there was nothing he could buy to silence the truth. Finally, a judge ordered Crow to pay compensation, face investigation, and step down from his company board. His billion-dollar pride burned to ashes. But Maria and Eli went home in peace. People from all over the country sent letters, gifts, scholarship offers. A school invited Eli to join a special program for prodigies. He would study with top mentors, not because he was rich, but because he earned it. At night, Maria tucked him into bed. She whispered, "I'm sorry you had to be brave." Eli smiled. "Mom, I didn't play to win money," she asked. "Then why did you play?" He answered softly, to show him he couldn't own us." Maria's eyes filled with tears, not of pain, but pride. Eli closed his eyes. Safe. Finally. Narrator. Power doesn't always belong to those with money, status, or fame. Sometimes real power sits quietly in the heart of a child who refuses to break. And every empire built on arrogance eventually collapses. That night, far from the noise, Eli whispered 4 words that echoed louder than any headline. They never win forever.